Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Emily and I love to talk about books and I love to read. I own 40-something books that I've never read before, and I thought something that would be really fun would be to read the highest rated and the lowest rated of the books that are currently on my physical TBR. The lowest rated book is The Girls by Emma Cline. The Girls has a 3.51 on Goodreads and has 231, almost 232,000 reviews. The Girls by Emma Cline, from what I understand, is like a culty coming of age novel. The Washington Post said debut novels like this are rare indeed, and it looks like it would be a pretty quick read, which is an excellent contrast to the book that is the highest rated, East of Eden by John Steinbeck. This is a brick. This is, I'm trying to look at the number of pages without like reading the last words on the page, which is a game. It has 601 pages. I read Of Mice and Men by John Steinbeck and found the writing style to be really accessible, really simple. I have been prioritizing the books that are smaller, easier to read from my physical TBR, and it's about time that I suck it up and challenge myself a little bit more. I think I'm gonna start with The Girls by Emma Cline and then read East of Eden after that, but I will be checking back in. I'm really excited to read the highest and the lowest rated books on my physical TBR on my shelf. To keep myself accountable, I'm literally gonna start it right now. I feel like I need to say that this video is inspired by pham. I saw her do a video reading her highest and lowest rated books on her shelf and am copying the idea verbatim. I will put her video in the description, and I'm assuming that other people have done it also, but this was hers. This I already like. Does my hair look weird? I literally never film like this, and I also never read in my bed like this. Guys, bad. It's kind of a crime that I've had this sitting on my shelf for probably like 6 years. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it's like 4, but still. And then I read the first page and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna really like this. Like, duh, I bought it for myself because I know my taste and what I like. What? Okay, I have been listening to the audiobook for The Girls as I do some like dishes and chores and whatnot for probably like an hour. I usually don't really love fiction audiobooks. Like, the voice just doesn't always sound quite right. But so far, I really like the audiobook of this book. I'm really enjoying the writing style, which I think that a lot of the people that didn't like this book had criticisms of the writing style, which is super valid because it is very, very flowery. And I know that that's just not everyone's taste, but it is mine. I'm into the characters. I'm into the plot. 10% in is a good start, and I'm really excited to keep reading it. I'm gonna switch to the physical book probably for the rest of the night, and then I'll read it before I go to sleep. It's like 7 p.m. where I am, and it's a Friday, so I probably will get a good chunk of this book this weekend, and I'm so excited to update y'all. It is the next day, and I'm about 30% through The Girls. So far, the book is really great. I'm really thoroughly enjoying it. The prose is pretty flowery, but not so much in terms of like long drawn out settings that she's describing. She's more using the flowery descriptive language for describing specific emotions and situations that are very coming of age, being a 14-year-old girl who is self-conscious and trying to find your place and dealing with boys and female friendships and questioning your sexuality a little bit. I think Emma Cline does a really great job of capturing really specific moments, and while I don't relate to every single emotion that this girl is feeling, her style of writing makes the main character really relatable. The book started out when Evie was an adult, and then it kind of like jumps back in time. And so you kind of get good foreshadowing throughout the book, and I like when books like jump around in time a little bit. In the prologue, we got introduced to the vibe of the cult that is taking place like in the early 1970s. And then in the first chapter, part 1, we are with the adult Evie, and then she starts to like recount her story. So it's not so much a non-linear story where you're piecing things together, like the story is linear, but we have a little bit of perspective, which I think is really nice and works really well. So far, the vibes of the book are really like sunny California vibes of like the late 1960s, early 1970s, which is gorgeous and fun, and maybe fun's the wrong word. It's like very captivating and exciting. Like that's just kind of an iconic time. And we're just now starting to get introduced to the cult a little bit more. She's going to the compound and like asking questions of the cult members and seeing their space. It's just starting to get to where I can tell it's going to get a little bit darker. I'm really excited to see how the author juxtaposes the sunny, summery, vibey 1970s with the really dark elements of the cult, because I think it's going to get really, really dark. It's a really unique story. I personally haven't read anything like it, and so far I'm really, really loving it. Maybe I have bad taste because this is the lowest rated book that is on my shelf, and I'm kind of eating it up. I just got back from a yin yoga class and a day in the sun, and I'm about halfway through. I really needed that yin yoga class to relieve me of the tension that I was feeling from the vibe switch in this book, because last time I checked in, earlier today, I was like, the vibes of this book are sunshiny California, 1960s, and like, it's so beautiful. Boom, cult. I do respect the book for not really having a long drawn out tension build, because that's kind of how real life can feel sometimes. And I think that that was intentional, but I definitely would recommend looking up trigger warnings going in, because I feel like that's just something that you need to know, because the book was marketed in kind of like a seductive summer 60s sapphic romance, and it's very much not that. It kind of reminds me of Lolita, because I feel like that book also had the wrong perception around it. So not only have I been like reading this book and thinking about the things that are happening in this book, but I'm also just thinking about how important it is to bring a book to market correctly, thinking kind of like about whose job that is. I'd be so curious as to what y'all think about the responsibility and where it lies, because I think that it's not just with one person, and I think that it is on us as readers to have a lot of discernment, but sometimes it's hard to know, like some books just don't need as much discernment or preparation. I'm like halfway through. She hasn't super started to hit the fan yet, but the hints of it that I'm getting, and I'm not going to spoil, this is going to be like a spoiler free, but the hints that they're dropping of what's going to happen, I'm like, this is getting bad, capital B. I just finished The Girls by Emma Cline. I actually finished this book a lot faster than I thought I would, because I knew going in that it was pretty literary, but I ended up kind of inhaling it. This was a 3-day read. I mostly read the physical book. I think that I just gave myself a lot of time this weekend to read, which was really nice. And this was a book that I felt was, you know, some books are good to binge read and some are not, and this was definitely a good one to binge read. Overall, this book was really amazing. I really, really loved it. I think the only hang up that I have, at least like my immediate thought, is just that this book was marketed wrong, and I think that that can really impact how you enjoy a book. I should have definitely looked up the trigger warnings and understood that it was going to get really dark and really heavy, and that it was meant to make the reader uncomfortable, but I didn't hate that about it. The book itself, I really, really loved. I just think that on the cover it shouldn't say seductive and arresting coming of age story when it deals with coercion of a minor sexually. What I will say about this book is that it felt like a combination of The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov, and Dark Places by Gillian Flynn. If you've read those 3 books and you really liked them, I think they were all 5-star books for me, you would really enjoy this book. Just know going in that it's more like those and less like a Taylor Jenkins Reid book. Now it's time to read the highest rated book on my shelf, which is East of Eden by John Steinbeck. I read the first chapter as an audiobook on the way to get groceries, and then I was like, I need to just reread this all physical, because I need to like get to know the book through my own voice and eyes reading the physical book. But so far, I think that they actually pair pretty well together, East of Eden and The Girls by Emma Cline, because they're both set, I think, in Northern California. East of Eden was written in 52? Hold on. Yeah. East of Eden was written in 52, and then The Girls was written like 2018, but it takes place in 1969. So these take place really close together in the same place. So I'm super interested to see how things were written about and how California was written about when it was actually written about in the 50s versus how someone wrote about it looking back at the 60s and 70s. That wasn't planned, obviously, but kind of works out really well. When I first started reading East of Eden, I was like, hey, I'm already here. Like, I'm already in Northern California from The Girls. I don't have to travel very far for East of Eden, and that's a good thing because it just feels like very continuous and kind of satisfying. I don't think the East of Eden is going to be one that I read in 2 days. It is Sunday and I'm starting it. I'm hoping to read enough of a chunk of it to where I'm into it by the work week, because I don't like having to put forth the effort of like getting into a book during the work week. I try to finish books and start the next one on the weekend so that I'm like already in the book when I'm working. I'm sure we'll chat soon about East of Eden. If you've read The Girls, let me know your thoughts, feelings about it. I will talk to you soon. I started East of Eden this weekend. So first, I tried to start this as an audiobook, and I was like, I have to start this as a physical book. Like, I have to read actual words on a page. So I stopped the audiobook and like got into bed early on a weekend night and opened this book up. And I was like, if I read this book as a physical, actual chapter book, I'm going to get carpal tunnel. Like, it hurts your wrist to hold such a freaking brick of a book. So I got it on my Kindle. So I've like tried every single format. I'm about 10% through. I read in some reviews online that it gets really good about 100 pages in, which is like 17% in. So I'm trying to just push through. I think it's really compelling and interesting so far. I'm not really having a hard time picking it up. It's very accessibly written, but I did have kind of a rude awakening after inhaling The Girls. The first pages of East of Eden are so descriptive and kind of force you to slow down a little bit. And I know that the point of it isn't to get through it super fast, but because I'm reading it for a video, for some reason it just feels like, oh, I gotta like hurry up and get through. So I'm trying to read really frequently. It's a long book and it's gonna take time, and that's okay. I have a feeling that the payoff is gonna be really great. I don't know, there's no real moral to that story. I haven't even eaten breakfast yet. Also, I want to show you my hair because I feel like it came out really good. I've been trying to do my hair lately. Is the lighting good? And I'm wearing all denim. Okay, that's enough. Bye. It is Saturday, a few days since I talked to you guys last, and I have been binging East of Eden. The lines between fiction and reality are blurring as a result of it. I am meeting new people in person and then later trying to place them in my story before realizing that is an actual real person that exists in the real world, not just in my book. What a concept. So that has been kind of a new experience for me. I don't really feel like I'm usually mixing up people that I meet with characters in the story, but I am now, and I don't know if that's because the story that John Steinbeck is weaving is so, how do I even say it? It's very, very slice of life, except it's the whole pizza. It's literally like life in a book. Instead of like one slice of it, it's like lives, generations, lives. I just feel like it's a book that you can't put into words. It's so gorgeous. And I think that some of what makes it so beautiful is simple, realistic dialogue, very distinct characters, each with distinct voices and personalities, so many of them, but it's not hard to keep them separate because they're all so very distinguished from one another, which is sometimes hard to do. Sometimes authors, I feel like, will have lots of characters and their voices all sound the same, and it's hard to keep track of them for that reason. That's not a problem that John Steinbeck has. He also has a line where he said these 3 sentences, and it's just such a testament to why reading fiction you can learn just as much and so much more than just reading like only self-help books. This is like a hill that I always want to die on, something that I always want to visit, because I've encountered in my life so many people that are like, oh yeah, you read? Like, oh, I only read self-help. Let me read this to you because it's just, I was like, wow, John Steinbeck ate James Clear up. East of Eden ate up Atomic Habits in 3 sentences. It exemplifies what makes East of Eden so good. Like, we have these characters that are so well fleshed out, good dialogue, really interesting, complex characters going through their own distinct life journeys and encountering very real problems that are very relatable and discussing things with each other that are just so interesting to discuss, but also are things that like you've probably discussed with people in your life. So relatable, so gorgeous. The scenery is so beautiful. The setting is very gorgeously described. You feel like you're there. But then also he'll sprinkle in philosophical views like this. He gets philosophical. He gets like historical context in there. And like, I just feel like I am experiencing the early 1900s in California in a way that I honestly wouldn't even be able to get a grasp on in a history class. Like, I feel like I am there. I don't know exactly how historically accurate every single thing is, but it's like, I'm going to remember certain things and when they took place because of a work of fiction, and I'm going to think about the philosophy discussed in a work of fiction. Anyways, I said that I was going to read you a line, and then I literally just kept rambling on. The line says, if one were properly to perform a difficult and subtle act, he should first inspect the end to be achieved, and then, once he had accepted the end as desirable, he should forget it completely and concentrate solely on the means. By this method, he would not be moved to false action by anxiety or hurry or fear. Very few people learn this. That is like every self-help book said so eloquently, so much more concisely, so gorgeously. There's so many moments like that where it's like, oh, that's what another author later tried to do and couldn't do without writing a whole book about it. John Steinbeck can just throw it in there and you're like, yep, that is kind of a universal truth. I could tell, I think like 20% of the way through that it was so deserving of its hype, and the further I get into it, the more I realize that. I will say at the exact same time as I'm really enjoying this book and think it's gorgeously written and amazing, I am really excited to finish it and move on to something shorter because I feel like I've been reading it forever, and it's been less than a week, but because I've been reading so frequently and like maybe like 100 pages a day, give or take a few, it's like that's kind of a lot. I feel like I'm usually kind of like a 40 to 50 page a day kind of person, so I'm reading like double what I normally read lately, which is nice, but I am canceling plans for it, so it's subjective. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That's up to you. It feels good to my inner child, I think. And I do wish that I had read East of Eden in school because I think I would have really liked it when I was younger. Also, I think that it's something that can be enjoyed by a really wide range of ages, which makes a special book too. I'm going today to a vintage expo, and I think I'm gonna go to the bookstore after. I love a day that my plan is just to support art. Last night I went dancing and was like listening to live music, and it was so good. And I was like, this is what John Steinbeck would have wanted. This is the life that as people were first building, like he says like first there's farmers and then the lawyers come, and then the culture comes, and I'm like, what a gorgeous time to be living in. It's also a hard time to be living in for sure, but there's so much good. Sometimes I think like, I wish I was born pre-internet. Well, I guess I technically was born pre-internet. Sometimes I'm like, I wish that I grew up in a world with no internet and like lived my whole life in a world with no internet. And sometimes I'm like, being able to listen to an audiobook and read a book on a Kindle and like be able to work 40 hours a week and also read 50 to 60 books in a year, that would not be possible without the technology that we have now, and that's such a privilege. So it's all perspective, baby, I guess. I'm enjoying East of Eden, safe to say. And it's making me think about the things that they're talking about in the book, but it's also just like enriching my brain so much. And what a gorgeous thing for a book to do. I don't know. I'm yapping now. This is like way too long. Okay, bye. It's 11:30 p.m. on a school night, and I think I have 15 pages left in this book, so buckle up, baby. We're reading it together. I'm scared because I think someone's gonna die and I think I know who it is, and I'm really like, I don't want them to die. I can't believe that John Steinbeck has waited for the last 15 pages to kill this person. I don't even know if they're dead yet. Knew it. I knew it. This is not good. This is a mess. I'm gonna sleep on it. I just finished the book. I finished East of Eden a month and a half ago, and I still haven't wrapped up my video because it is so much harder for me to talk about a book that I really love, a book that felt really profound. It's so much easier to hate on a book. Why is that? Final thoughts on East of Eden. I thought the ending of East of Eden was one of the best fitting endings for a book that I've ever read. It just matched so well with the characters. I thought it matched so well with the philosophy that they talked about. All the pieces fell so perfectly, and the ending was so stunning. Sad, yes. It felt like it was reading an entire life, generations worth of lives, and living with these people, because it was so involved that you can't get out of that book feeling like a little bit of a different person. There are critiques of this book that I have heard. I've been making my family and friends read this book so that I have people to talk about it with, and they have been indulging me. I've had people that read it and loved it, people that had very fair critiques of John Steinbeck's writing. I think most notably would be the fact that the most developed female character in this book was the embodiment of evil. I think that it was such a male-focused story. It was published in the 50s. I personally am not going to hold it to the standard that I would hold a modern book to. That is a personal call, though, and I don't think that it's wrong to not like the book because of something like that. I think that that's extremely valid and has almost made me want to bump my rating down to 4 stars, just hearing that perspective and realizing that I do agree. However, I did love Kate's character. I thought that the character was brilliant, and I was like rooting her on, not in a serious sense of condoning her actual actions, but just really enjoying reading about her absolutely bulldozing everything in her path and sabotaging everything. And I don't know, I just really loved reading her character. I definitely was wrong earlier in the video, and I said this is the same time period as the girls. East of Eden obviously takes place way before the girls takes place. Still really great experience overall reading both of these novels. I loved both of these books. 5-star rating for each of these 2 books, which I wasn't really expecting, but here we are. I did end up giving the girls 5 stars because I loved the book so much, and I do think it could be like argued that it deserves a lower rating because of how it was marketed and how it was sold, but I loved it, so I'm giving it 5 stars. It feels authentic to me. And then East of Eden as well, I think that I could say that I'm like around a 4.5. I'm giving it a 5 stars. I will round up any day. These books both deserve their flowers. East of Eden is so worthy of the hype that it gets, and The Girls I don't think is worthy of the hate that it gets, but I understand why someone wouldn't like it, because you go into a book with a certain perception, it's different, it's easy to not like it. I would definitely recommend both of these books. Just know that they're a little bit heavier emotionally, both of them, for different reasons. Know that going in, and maybe have a lighter read ready waiting for you after or during, because halfway through East of Eden, I was like, my body and brain is craving a YA fantasy novel. I need to read a YA fantasy novel immediately. I'm gonna end it here. Go read. Bye.